It was a story about Reuben the Cooker. Have you ever heard this story? Some of you have heard this story. I know a lot of you have heard this story. But while he was there in Solomon Islands training pastors, he was in New Guinea training pastors there in Reuben. And Reuben Cooker, the first Cooker to become a Seventh-day Adventist, came there to train. Reuben was a pygmy. The Cookers were pygmy warriors from the highlands of New Guinea. And he used to bring his spear with him to class. As you can imagine, this didn't go over very well with everybody in the class. And one day Reuben got very angry with another student in the class, and he threatened him with a spear, and administration didn't like that very well, and they wanted to send Reuben home. But my dad couldn't bear to have Reuben be sent home because he was the first Cooker to believe in Jesus. And so my dad said he was willing to take the responsibility for Reuben, personal responsibility, if they would leave him there and let him continue. And so they did. And it came time for the walkabouts, the pastor training. And he and Reuben decided that they wanted to go to this one island that was particularly known to be hostile to Christianity. In fact, the chief wouldn't let any Christians on the island. So they decided to sail in their little canoe quietly to the backside of that island at night and to pray that God would give them the opportunity. So they sailed around to the backside of this island and they landed, but in true New Guinea style, of course, they had been seen long before they landed. And there was a group of people waiting there to greet them, and they said, "You can't be here." And they begged, "Please, God, just let us stay here one night." And the people said, "Okay, we'll let you stay just on this side of the island. Don't come near the village," which was on the other side of the island. "You stay over here and you leave first thing in the morning." So they said, "Okay." So they set up their little tent and they prayed to God that God would give them an opportunity, and they went to sleep. And then somewhere in the middle of the night they heard voices, and they turned and were roused. And they found that it was a couple of people who had been sent from the chief as a delegation to these missionaries. And they told the other, they said, one of the ladies in the village, she's had a baby and her baby is really sick. And she would like you to come and pray over this baby. They were all excited. We've been praying for an opportunity to share Jesus. So they got up and started to make their way through the jungle. My dad hated the jungle. You may not have known that, but he was afraid of the dark too. So he was walking very carefully there behind him. And they were making their way through the jungle, praying and praising God and excited about sharing Jesus there in that village. But as they neared the village, they could hear the unmistakable sound of weeping and wailing. And they knew that the baby had died already. And my dad was thinking to himself, well, maybe I'll have the opportunity to at least preach a Christian burial service here and share the hope and the good news of Jesus. But as they walked into that village, Reuben had other thoughts and other ideas. And he walked straight up to that woman, and he took the baby out of her arms. And he stood in the center of the village and he raised his baby up over his head. And he prayed that God would bring life back to this baby. And the baby began to move. And everybody in that village believed in Jesus. But my dad always talked about that story, and he said, I was going to a funeral and I ended up at a resurrection.